In this video, we'll be learning how to draft and cut this gorgeous blouse that you are seeing on your screen. Actually, this blouse, the front is different from the back. The front is a 7 pieces blouse and the back is a peplum top that has half length with a 720-degree flea, while the top there's no half length. You can see there's no joining on the half cut and it is a 7 pieces blouse. I'm making this video with the hope that someday soon my videos will start going viral and my videos will start getting the views that they are supposed to be getting, because honestly the views on my video have not been encouraging. So please, if you come across my video, do well to watch and don't just watch. Please give it a thumbs up, because by giving a particular video a thumbs up, it helps the video find its way. It helps YouTube to be able to push the video out to more audience, to the right audience. So please, if you come across my video, please watch and give my video a thumbs up. And please, most importantly, regarding the ads, help me by not skipping ads on my phone. Please, if you are watching my content and ad comes up, I know it's not easy to sit down and be watching ads, but help me watch my ads. Don't just keep it away. It means a lot to me. Thank you. That being said, let's dive right into the video. We'll start by drafting our basic bodice pattern. So we're drafting for the front first before transferring to the main fabric. So on this my pattern paper, I'll be marking out my lines, which firstly is nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus 1 inch allowance. And nipple to nipple is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, and I marked 4.5. I marked that in like 3 to 4 places and I connected this point into a straight line. This is my nipple to nipple line. On the nipple to nipple line, I will be marking a shoulder to chest point, then shoulder to nipple and shoulder to under the bust. These 3 points, I'll connect them into straight lines as well. Then I'll proceed to labeling them for easy identification. So this is my bust point or my chest point. Then the next is the shoulder to the nipple. The third one is shoulder to under and bust. The next I'll do is to mark out 2 inches from under the bust line. I'll measure 2 inches outward. I'm measuring 2 inches because this person is not really busty. Her bust is actually 36, but she has more of side than the bust itself. If you're cutting for a busty person, you can measure 3.5 or 3. If you're cutting for a moderately busty person, you can measure 2.5. So I'll measure 2 inches outward and half inch inward, then connect these 2 points into straight lines. Then the next is on the armhole curve, on the armhole line, measure 4 inches downward, and from that 4 inches you draw your cup. So starting from the under bust, you will just take your curved ruler or you can use your free hand, draw your cup the way I drew mine. Then that half inch that you measured inward, you also connect it to the cup. The next is to mark out the actual measurement. So I'll be dividing our bust, like transferring our actual body measurement into the pattern. So our bust divided by 4, I added 2 inches allowance, then our waist divided by 4. Firstly, I'll be adding the 2.5 inches that I'm cutting out at the middle. Then I'll also add 2 inches allowance. Then the next is on the hip line, which is the whole length of my pattern paper, because our blouse length is 24 and this pattern paper is 24 inches long. I'll be adding to the length when I'm transferring it to the main fabric. So on that full length, that's the hip line, I divided our hip by 4 and I added 2.5 inches allowance to that. The next is to mark out our armhole. So after measuring our shoulder, I used 7 for the armhole and I divided the whole 7 by 2, 3.5. On that 3.5, I marked half inch inward and I proceeded to drawing the armhole curve. The next after this is to connect my measurement points together, the allowance now, not the actual measurement. So I connected this point together, and that part that I shaded is the part that I'll be cutting out. Now, this pattern paper is supposed to be on fold of two, but I did not fold mine. If you do not fold yours as well, just put that mark there so that when you are transferring this pattern to your actual fabric, me that mark helps me, like it reminds me that my fabric must be on fold of two at that part before cutting it out. Then you can now proceed to cutting out. After cutting out, you measure 1 inch inward and outward to the left and to the right on that side. This is just to eliminate this like excess fabric or bulge that used to appear sometimes on the armhole side when you don't cut it out. So measure 1 inch forward and backward, and then you cut it out, connect it to the cup, like inside the cup. Then for the neckline, I used round neck width of 7. I measured 3.5 on fold of 2. Then I used neck depth of 4. The next I would do is to start cutting out the pieces. So at the upper part on the neckline, I marked 3 inward, and at the lower part I marked 2 inches. If you check the video of the dress, you will understand what I'm saying. Now connect these points together, and I'll be labeling that part as 1. That's center front, like middle, and the next one is 2. I labeled it as 2. Then I have to cut out 3 and 4 as well. So firstly, I'll be marking the allowance. Remember that I've put my sewing allowance on this paper, so that I will not share it in a way that it will now end up being that the last piece is already inside the allowance. So I had to mark out the allowance first so that I'll see what I'm doing clearly. So after I dotted out the allowance, I now proceeded to cutting out number 3 and number 4. I just marked it. I marked it with dotted lines in line with the style that I'm cutting, and I labeled it, and I proceeded to cutting it out. So now I have piece 1, piece 2 and 3, then piece 4, 5, 6 and 7. The middle will be on fold of 2. So that's one piece. Then the two sides, that's 3, the other side, that's 5, and the other side, that's 7. Now I'll be transferring all of this to my main fabric, and it is while I'm doing that I'll be adding all the flay that I'm supposed to add. I already added my sewing allowance into my pattern, so I'll be adding the flay. So and now I allowance have to the transferred my pattern into my main fabric, and this is the center from number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. For this center front, there's not going to be any extension. There's no flay according to the style. If you check the style, you will see that this center front is straight. That's why I cut it straight like this. I only added allowance that I'll use to join it to the number 2. That was the only thing I added to this. And then because I'm using velvet for the center front, I proceeded to interfacing it. As I was cutting it, I was interfacing it so that it will not start rolling. There's the way velvet used to roll by this side, and it will stress me that way. So I had to interface it, the velvet first. I interfaced it. I used ST. I even used 2 layers of it to give it that structure or firmness. So that is it for the number 1. This number 2, I've not interfaced it because I'm using Ankara, and I know that Ankara will not stress me while cutting, although I'll still interface it before I join it. So this is number 2, this is number 1. For number 2, as I was cutting the fabric, I was cutting the lining as well to save myself from the stress. For this number 2, there's going to be extension like flay on the side towards number 3, but there won't be extension towards number 1. Like where I will join this one, it's going to be straight. You can see that it's straight. I only added allowance that I'll use to join it to this one. And for this number 2, I added the extension, and I added allowance as well that I'll use to join it at this upper part. See, the allowance that I'll use to join it to the bustier to number 3, I added it, and then I measured this. I did 3 inches extension, so 3 inches flay from here. I measured 3 inches here, and if you check my marking, you will see that this is the shoulder to nipple line, shoulder to under the bust, shoulder to half length. The flare, I want the flare to start from like 2 inches after the half length, like 2 inches below the waistline. So I have to create another line. That's why I use this green marker so that it will be different from the black one. And you can see that that is where the extension starts from. That's where my flare starts from. For all of them, that's where the flare will start from. So that's it for number one and number two. For this number three, which is still going to be velvet, I interfaced it just like I did to number one. I interfaced it as I was cutting, and then I cut the lining. I added allowance at this upper part that I'll use to join it here, and the one I'll use to join it here. And for the flare, to have flare on both sides, even though one side will be more than the other. Going joining to number four, you can see that is wider than joining to number two. So I added 2 inches here and I added 3 inches allowance here. That is it for panel three. For panel four now is going to have a lot of flare. So here I added 3 inches and here I added 4 inches. This is like the side, the shaping side, and I cut lining for it as well. Cut the line and the fabric at the same time, and I added allowance at this upper part that I will use to join it to this one, and this is the one I'll use to turn it with my lining on this upper part. So that is it for the front panel. This is 1 2 3 4. This is, this is not open, like it's not splitted at the middle. So this is one, but this is two and three because it's on both sides. This is four and five, and this is six and seven. So this is like 7 pieces for only the front panel. The back is going to be a peplum back that has half length, princess that bustier with half length. But for now, I'll be joining this front first. I'll join the front first before I start cutting the back. So let's go to the joining table. I'll interface the Ankara too. I'll interface the Ankara. When I say interface, I mean I'll gum my ST on it. I'll be using ST for this. So let me do that, and then we'll go to the sewing machine and we'll start joining. So for now, this is where I'll be stopping this part of this tutorial. In my next video, I'll be uploading how I was able to join all these pieces together and how I cut the back panel. I hope this video has been helpful or interesting to someone. If it has been, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please do well by giving this video a thumbs up. If you have any question, ask me down in the comment section. And if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe, and don't just subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that you'll get notified the next time I upload a new video on this channel. You need to watch the part 2 of this tutorial because it is very well detailed and it is interesting. Thank you for sticking with me from the beginning of this video till this point. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you are still here, because it helps YouTube to suggest my video to the right audience. And I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.